Chapter 31, All My Exes. Michael was now finally at LaToya's door, and after he knocked, he saw her looking through the peephole, and then began hearing the sound of lock after lock being undone. This took a while. "Michael," called out LaToya with a welcoming grin. "LaToya, mind if I come in?" "Sure, of course," replied LaToya as she opened her door completely. As much of a dump as the rest of the building was, LaToya's place seemed really nice and cozy. Even with all the madness outside, LaToya seemed to have decided to ignore the havoc and had settled in for the night with some black lights, wine, and Sade's smooth operator playing on her hi-fi stereo. At this point, Michael began to feel like staying a bit longer than needed. "Oh, Michael, you're bleeding all over the place," cried out LaToya as her eyes scurried along the trail of blood that was following him. "Yeah, sorry about that," responded Michael. "Get on the couch. I'll see what I can scrounge up in my med cabinet," ordered LaToya. She quickly hurried to her bathroom to grab her stuff. Michael then sort of slumped onto the floor, holding his wound. "Michael, I said get on the couch. Don't worry about the blood. I can clean it up later," ordered LaToya again. Michael really didn't feel like moving right now. He felt faded, and the skin on his arms were slowly growing pale right before his eyes. Plus, he really did feel skittish and unwilling to ruin LaToya's leather black surroundings. "Michael, get on the..." "Fine, I'll treat you there." She quickly got to working sanitizing Michael's wound with alcohol. "I think you've lost a lot of blood, and I think you need to..." "I'm fine, LaToya, I'm fine," responded Michael, again eyeing her while she went to work on his side. "Feels good to have a woman tend to your wounds. I'd like to see if that Florence Nightingale effect will come out of this." "Wait, Florence Nightingale effect? Where did I get that from?" "Oh yeah, Leah Thompson's such a cutie pie in that movie." Once LaToya was done bandaging his wound, Michael quickly got up to try and prove that he didn't need to go to the hospital. "You see, I'm fine." But then Michael realized by doing that, he had definitely spoiled the chances of that Florence Nightingale thing taking effect, and felt a bit let down by his showy actions. Fucking idiot. "You sure you're fine, Michael?" Michael shrugged, then nodded. "Okay, I did what I could," replied LaToya, blowing out a sigh. LaToya knew how stubborn Michael could be. If she ignored him and tried to call for an ambulance anyways, he might leave. As Michael continued to breathe in the well-decorated interior he'd expect from a girl like LaToya, that had womanly fragrances hovering about, Michael felt keen to take a load off on that couch now that he wasn't trailing blood, and to remind himself how far he'd come from that crummy, smelly studio wasteland he was brooding in before. Fuck it, I need a bit of R&R right now. As LaToya rushed to her kitchen to get Michael some refreshments, Michael went on to do his usual when women passed him by and thought, almost perfect. Then, okay, I like LaToya, that's mean. "Thanks, LaToya, I was around the neighborhood, and if you had moved out or if you hadn't been at home, I don't know what I would have done," said Michael as he waited for her smile. "Well, doesn't seem like you've lost too much blood. You seem okay now," said LaToya while blowing a sigh of exhaustion. Michael smiled, seeing how he'd put her to work, and LaToya picked up on that and just gave him a look. "What's going on, Michael? What happened at Stumpy's place?" asked LaToya without a smile. "You didn't see?" asked Michael. "I left after you knocked out Boommatic and left him bleeding on the floor. After that, I didn't feel like being in there that minute. Plus, I was only there seeing a friend who never showed up," explained LaToya. "I'm just looking for Madboy, that's all," responded Michael, hoping LaToya wasn't bothered about what he did to Boommatic. Fuck that pimp. LaToya gave Michael some lemonade, and as she looked down at Michael sitting on the couch, she did her old demure smile, the one she knew he was waiting for. The reason that Michael loved it so much was because he knew just how much passion and fire was really churning underneath. Michael eyed LaToya as he began to entertain the notion that he should have really been flipping quarters for her instead. As weird as that idea sounds, so fucking superstitious. Seeing an old face like hers standing before him brought out from the familiar past and brought to life in the present made Michael want to stay longer than really needed now. Maybe all night, even. As much as Michael wanted to move on to 1999, this was beginning to seem more important to him. He already had his rompous, pompous moments at Stumpy's and at Big Dick's. Maybe that was all the catharsis he needed for tonight. You know what? Maybe Radboy matter can wait for later tonight. Maybe even tomorrow. He's not leaving anytime soon. I still got business to take care of with him, so let it wait. As Michael went back to eyeing LaToya, he began staring at her luscious lips. Her old familiar lips that had layer over layer of crevices packed with evening dew. Lips so wet and juicy that they could drive any man with a dry piece hysterically out of his mind. As a hysteria Michael remembered oh too well and now wanted to be a part of again. 8 months cooped up in that halfway shithole, and maybe this is what I really need right now. Years cooped up in that hole in the ground attic, and maybe this is what can finally uplift me from there and set me free. Since getting out of prison, being a nymphomaniac as he had always been, first thing Michael had obviously done was to dive in head first to satisfy his male needs. First night I went out, I realized how rusty I got after blowing it 3 times coming on too hard, like I just got out of prison, as I literally had. I mean, I scared the crap out of those poor girls, probably thought I was a maniac, and I fucking hate when I come across like that. I know some women deep down absolutely love the maniac thing and that whole masochistic, sadomasochistic shit, but deep down I hate the idea of being that way to its core. I'd rather drop dead than come off like that. Fuck. I gotta control my lust sometimes. Of course, every time you blow it with one chick, it's probably best to switch bars since every chick in there notices and keeps score, which is sort of vain of them. It's always a popularity contest. They can't just give you a shot on their own terms because they really have none. And it based their entire judgment on what other... Michael then shook it off his pessimism and went on. Luckily, in the second bar, some sports bar. How the fuck I got there, I couldn't tell you. Since it's full of those beer-drinking, beer-belly loser men that couldn't woo a chick even if they looked and possessed the charisma of Richard Chamberlain from Thornbirds. Oh, I know how swooned women get over that Thornbird shit and all that forbidden love with a humbled, handsome priest. I know that. But anyways, at that sports bar, looking to better my charms, after a minute of comparing myself to the competition, with so much of, and sarcasm, it all started coming back. As I remembered how to piece it, she was some ruggedly good-looking platinum blonde gal from Texas with a rectangular face and a lot of rectangular features, yet still very effeminate and attractive in her own special way. She had a thick-ass tan and a thick-ass accent who kept talking about football as if I cared. I hate watching sports. I'd rather play them if I had to. I mean, it was pretty damn obvious I had no interest in the NFL, since I made no comment whatsoever about it. I wasn't able to answer any of her questions about statistics, teams, players, Super Bowl, Joe Montana, whatnot. And after a while, she didn't seem that interested in talking about it either, but kept on going. Talking about sports had to be a comfort zone for her. It had to have been her way of dealing with being as overwhelmingly anxious and horny for me as she was after I gave her my old pickup line. After I did, it was funny seeing her eyes blow up like that for a second, giving me the sheep eyes once the wolf came out. Pupils all big and round and dilated. It's the look they give when you know it's a done deal and there's nothing else you need to do to cement it. You've taken them. They're yours now completely. You own them. And you can do with them whatever you please. And in the end, they'll thank you for it. It's the same look Flores gave me just a while ago, looking like she's already found her prince. And she fantasizes about dropping to her knees and paying homage to the majesty that is my crown jewel. But anyways, with that cowgirl, even though it took her a good minute to respond saying anything, which in her case was more of that boring small talk that people like to feed themselves when they're feeling too anxious to say what's really on their mind. Even though it took her a good minute, she never did fully recover. After that, she was blinking fast, trying desperately to keep eye contact, like she still had some fight within her. Sighing and biting her lips every few seconds as her eyes would escape south and instantly would jump back up again, like she was spooked by what she saw down there. Eyes escaping south, probably trying to get a glimpse of I wonder what. Michael then grew a sinister grin, but then allowed compassion to fill up again. I find it cute, though. She was awkward as fuck for the rest of the night, but it's an awkwardness I know that comes from her just craving it that bad, but unable to express how she does so. So fucking cute. I love it. Really. For as long as I know they're like me, as they can be as awkward as they want. It won't affect me in the slightest. Awkwardness might come off as a red light for most to stop engaging. But when you know the story behind it, their story and what they truly feel, and when you're the strong type, you'll know how to turn it around and make it green. Then Michael thought of her again. That cowgirl really seemed like the repressed type, as if words like sex and orgasm were nowhere to be found in her vocabulary, but definitely in her thoughts, considering how often she kept trying to sneak a peek at my goods. After we left that bar, once I got her to my place and I undressed her, there was something then I found very delightful about her. She was really physically attractive in the most peculiar way. Small breasts, small ass, fine, but she had an elongated torso that I strangely found appealing. Midriff all oval shape with that long crevice running down the center, very appealing. And it had to be her erogenous zone because when I started rubbing her stomach and running my finger up and down that crevice, she began to stutter, talking about the Dallas Cowboys. Silly girl. Then she shifted her balance from one leg to another. Never seen a woman stutter and tremble so much, especially after I gave her what I promised at that sports bar there. Wasn't the moaning type, but she trembled so much she started to chatter her teeth. Would have loved to have heard her moan in that accent of hers. Loved. Pity. But then she started to spasm out like a possessed person as her quakes started going off the Richter scale. Really must have been giving it to her good. Seems like she also had gone without the touch for some time, as I had. Also kind of funny how she got too excited and accidentally kneed me in the jaw, almost knocking me out cold in the middle of it. And spent the rest of the night feeling guilty and apologizing for what she'd done every 5 minutes or so. That's another puss-eating scar for you. Fucking apologizing to me in the middle of doggy style, then in the shower, and then after I blew my load in her mouth. Who does that? Silly Texas girl. I thought you people were all supposed to be really tough and made of nails, and never the apologetic type. Yet every Texan I've met has been really very sweet and friendly, and even docile, I would say. Michael smiled thinking about her, but then realized something that deeply annoyed him. Wait, what was her name? That now really began to annoy him. Fuck no. What was her name? I liked her. Please don't tell me I forgot her name too. She was the first woman I've been with in years. How could I have forgotten something as important as that already? Plus she gave me like $500 seeing the condition I was living in that crummy halfway house. Also her number. And practically begged me to come see her if I was ever down in Dallas. Even suggesting she pay for my trip down there. She said she was newly separated from her husband and had kicked him out. Another beer-drinking loser Dallas Cowboy fan I can only imagine. And had a giant house to herself and would love to have someone around to keep her and her kids company. And now Michael started to ponder on that possibility. A big old house down in Dallas with horses and shit. And all I have to do is play Mr. Mom. Play with her kids, take them to school, tend to the house chores while she's out working and earning the big bread, since she has a college education and all. And then tend to the horses. And I've always had a thing for horses, horseback riding. Just never done it. Beautiful animals. I would love that. Wait, Michael, I don't remember her mentioning owning horses. Did she? Or are you just stereotypically imagining that she would? Since you see her as some cowgirl from Dallas, you're thinking of that Dallas TV show, even though she told you her profession was that of a district attorney, and she lived in the inner city, and not on some ranch. Stereotypically imagining it. So? Nothing, just making sure. Okay. Anyways, I think I would like that. Better than living the conditions I'm in now. And later that night, I just have to take her kids to bed and tell them a bedtime story and tuck them to sleep. And then later that night, tuck her ass to sleep, slap moan. And that's that. I think I would like that lifestyle, thought Michael, now truly considering it. I think, wait, what did I do with her number? Fuck. And as pissed as he was to this revelation, then something else occurred to Michael. Wait a second. I didn't just get with her to hustle sex and money out of her, did I? I mean, I liked her a lot. Yet I forgot her name, lost her number. No. That's not possible. Only a fucking dog would do that, like that Russian prick, Sputnik. Misogynistic asshole, only out for himself, and I couldn't have, could I? Michael now began to realize something about himself he wasn't completely aware of until now. Something that had to do with that Texas girl and several other women he'd been with in the last few weeks, which involved both sex and especially money. Am I really that much of a piece of... But before the realization could be fully cemented, LaToya accidentally dropped something in the kitchen and bent over to pick it up, and with the sight of LaToya's juicy, supple ass, Michael was back in form again. Damn, LaToya, been working out or something, or what?